Well, I mean, so you've seen a lot of offense as far as plays and a lot of different players. I think, I think it's just each guy saying they know that they still can always continue to clean and enhance their personal performance. So whether, you have a good, good game up front, but you don't bump off some twist and protection as good as you want, or, receivers, the timing of the routes maybe a little bit shorter, back misses cut, or he sees he's loose with the ball. I just think, you're at the time of the year where practices can always get a little shorter because you don't overdo it. And that being said, that's when fundamentals can start to regress. Guys take things for granted, and you start running zone plays, and after a while, linemen just start running left and running right. They don't really identify and get their aiming points and landmarks. So we're trying to just emphasize to the group that there's, you're always, Coach Myers was saying, when it's going great, that's awesome, but enhance it. And we're just trying to push these guys to continue to realize that their best is in front of them. There's a lot of talented players here. A lot of guys are playing very, very well, but they still can be better. We're just trying to push to find out without being negative.
Front row right, Austin, Letterman row.
Kevin, you've been doing this for a long time, and this is just a unique stretch. I know you don't take anything for granted with Maryland and Rutgers, but you know that the next 2 weeks after that are probably going to be bigger tests, right? So I wonder if, as a coordinator and play caller, would you want to save some stuff, or would you like to throw as much out there as possible to make a defense prepare for everything you could do?
Yeah, well, okay, so that's a great question because you started with saying the test. And the biggest test is to find a way to keep guys to stay humble and be their best every day. That's the hardest test. Because I started a long time ago when I had a few talented teams in Oklahoma, and I started having this little saying, as soon as you think you got it, you're getting ready to get it. And that being said, you don't, you're not trying to, it's not about stats, it's not about numbers, it's not about scores, it's just continue to find ways to have people to come into the meeting room, to come to practice every day, stay hungry. This is a very talented team, but it's very young. That being said, it's really a good group to coach. You got, guys like Josh Myers and White Davis are playing great. It's really their first year, so they're still anxious to learn and watch themselves in videotape. That tight end group, there's a bunch of guys spreading around. Master T's getting a lot of, JK's still young. So there's a lot, Justin Fields, very young. So that being said, we're not saving anything. Sometimes just things fit certain coverages and certain fronts, and there's just ways that you attack personnel. There's ways that you attack defensive structures. It is nice to get some things on tape, but I don't know if you're trying to trick anyone. I think we're just trying to continue the momentum that we have. And I think if you get too cute and too coy as a coach, you might could lose that. So we're just trying to keep these guys very grounded. And like the question was asked, like we're playing really good, but we can be better. It's just trying to find ways. At Chapel, I heard a great line from a guy I never heard before, and everybody knows the line. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But then the Chapel guy says the key is, can you make them thirsty? And I think that's the key in our meeting rooms, is to make our players thirsty. They want to come in and keep learning. Go to the practice field and be thirsty and want to practice better. And I think there's a little tact with that, a little art. And I think our coaches have worked hard offensively to keep players engaged. There's a lot of guys that want that ball, but there's only one ball in so many plays. And you got guys like, KJ Hill plays a half. How many catches or touches we had if he had a second half? And the same with a lot of those guys. But that being said, the ball gets spread around. So you check your ego, you try to stay humble, you try to stay hungry. And to me, that's the biggest test that we have each week, is to keep our kids grounded, feet on the ground, and keep pushing to be the very best down the stretch.
And when you are installing some of these mesh or pick-looking plays, I think 2 of the touchdowns, Jeremy was going across the middle, setting a screen, or look like that. How do you teach that so that they avoid the contact, avoid getting the flag?
It's kind of like in basketball, where and it's sometimes even in tackling now. When guys launch into people, they're going to call for targeting. As we go, and there's going to be some contact, but if we are working our way where we're trying to avoid contact, so if you run and just plow into a guy, you're going to get called. But when you get that junction point, if you start trying to navigate and work around, and even if there's a slight collision, you'll get away with it because you do have the ability to try to avoid. And as you avoid, you can create the mesh that you need. So there's a little art there. We're always pointing out on tape, maybe that's a little too excessive, and you got away with that, whether it be in practice or in game. Right, this is really ideal how you got to that point and you really created that little cluster that creates the opening on the crossing routes.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
About Garrett Wilson, you've coached a lot of talented wide receivers. Where does he kind of fit in there, and as a freshman, but given his talent, what can he do the rest of the year?
I think as a young guy, I think he's, like a lot of those talented guys, sometimes it's easy. And that being said, that he doesn't just always rely on his talent. I think Chris Olave is a young man that has a combination of talent, but tremendous detail in his route running and his work habits. Whereas young guys, sometimes we think Garrett gets away with not as good a release as you want, but he's still quick enough or good enough athlete to make an acrobatic catch and all that. And I think he's just one of those very talented young guys that you're trying to get him past, because as you continue to play, as games get bigger, and as coach would always say, talent gets equated. And when you play in the upper echelon of our opponents, and as these kids get moving, even past here to the NFL, to be great, you can't just rely on your talent. I think a lot of our young freshmen come in, they're so talented, they're used to that. And it's getting to go past the talent, have those great work habits, those great practice and fundamental periods. Like right now, as our fundamentals get short because of individual periods, our fundamentals actually have to become a part of the team. And if you are a young player and you rely just, hey, I'm fast, run down the field and you'll get a release, when you're playing against a great corner, you're gonna get jammed up. So it's just him learning as a young guy how to practice at an elite level that matches the talent. You know, I said, when I first got here, in my time in Oklahoma, I never saw Adrian Peterson lose a sprint. Terry McLaurin's here 2 weeks. He said, Coach, he beats me by 10 yards every day, and I'm running as fast as I can. Because he is a talented guy with an unbelievable work ethic. And that, to me, is what separates. And so a guy like Garrett, as he has all his talents, he keeps learning how to become a true, because I think you learn, I think working hard is a talent. You don't put it aside. Matter of fact, it's a lost talent in our society right now. You know, it's a talent that gets shoved back and pushed aside. I think guys that work hard become the great players. I think it's one of the foundation principles of our program, why it's been so successful. And guys like Garrett, not that he's a poor worker, but as he becomes an elite worker with elite talent, the sky's the limit for Gallican.
And this may be hopefully not a sensitive subject, but Indiana, your former school, was ranked for the first time in 25 years. You recruit a lot of those players. Is there some pride in what they've done?
Yeah, you know, I get a chance, you know, to walk us. I think on that 2D when we played them, is about 24, 25, 26 those guys that we had recruited, coached, played. A lot of those guys who contributed. I'm really proud of those guys having the success that they wanted. They were part of 2 bowl teams. They've been very close the last 2 years, and now they're on a good roll, and they got some great competition down the stretch. So I'm very, very happy for those guys. I got 2 daughters over there. Open day week was Dad's weekend, so I recruited and got to drive by to have a meal with my 2 daughters and spend some time with them. So again, very proud of those guys. Very happy for them. And like all jobs, those are tough jobs that take a lot of energy, a lot of work, and you know, we were proud of what we started, and really for the players, very, very happy that they are continuing to have success, and hopefully they're just scratching the surface and they'll keep going.
Front row right, Tim from Letterman Row.
Yeah, Kevin, you talked about landmarks a while ago. It seems like one of the favored ones, it's almost like a lighthouse, is the umpire standing in the middle of the field. Are you ever concerned or worried about that guy, where he stands in the middle of the field, and some of the things teams like you guys like to run off of him?
You know, years ago, I know Coach Cooper, you'd actually bring that up in pregame to refs, but I think our refs now have so much more access to study film, and they watch, and I think they're much more prepared because of the video capabilities that they come in and they know where the routes are. And actually, the umpires are really a couple yards deeper than they used to be because so much is coming across them. And sometimes you can actually use that ump as an extra body to get a little rub for you too, if you want to.
Yeah, y'all did that.
He creates some clutter in there too. So.
And one other quick thing, you and Stud, with this offensive line, how would you describe it right now? I know there's always improvement to go, but they've dominated the line of scrimmage quite a few times, almost every week this year. What is different? What is good about this group that you can put your finger on?
We in preseason, I was thinking, we had a lot of new faces, but we really had some talented guys. It was kind of their time, and they've done a great job with Coach Mick through the offseason. I think Jonah coming in has been a very solid transfer, that he's been very much accepted by his peers. He's very much one of our positive leaders. He grades and about as well as anyone every week, and a first-time player for us. It really didn't start until the summer because he had to graduate. Of course, we're going back to play at his previous school, and I know he's got a lot of respect for his teammates and going back home. So I didn't want to get talking just about that or him, because that's a story. It's really hopefully not a story. But those inside guys, to me, is where we're a little bit different. I think the way Jonas came in and the way Wyatt and Josh Myers has played. We've had some good centers, but those three guys are very, very smart. They see things and communicate where we're comboing, because sometimes you're not comboing the linebackers, you're comboing the safeties or corners as formations change and defenses get very unique in how they try to stop your run game. And so you got to be able to see those pictures. And when you're a no-huddle team, you're going fast. You got to process quickly and see things, get everyone on the same page. And those guys have been solid. We're talented at tackle. We've been had a couple mild injuries there with Thayer and Brandon Bowen a little bit, but we got some depth there. It's a deep group. It practices really well. There's some great young players behind them with DeJuan and Enoch and Ryan Jacoby and Harry Miller. It's a deep group. It's a talented group. They practice hard. They go against a great D-line every day, and we embrace that competition. So like today, we'll do inside drill, and it's 16 good reps, and it's good football, and it's fun, and it's made us a tougher football team the way we practice with those guys.
Fourth row middle, Patrick from 24/7 Sports.
Ryan was just talking about the importance of a backup quarterback, the mental reps, because he's not getting as many first team looks in practice. With Chris, he seems to be able to take that and translate it when we've seen him on the field. How have you seen him do that? How has he established himself as the number 2 for you guys behind Justin?
Yeah, I thought, first of all, I played at West Virginia for Coach Holgerson, so he was kind of used to getting the ball out of his hand. And when you get recruited by those guys and play in this system for a few years like you did, I think you get really comfortable with passing concepts. And we do some different things, but we do a lot of similar things. So I think from the passing side, was very, very easy transfer for him. He played over there. I kind of felt, a year ago that, I think he was trying to figure out how serious to approach. Was he really in the mix? I remember telling him this summer, I go, I think you give us the best chance to win outside of possibly Justin here. So if I was you now, you need to be ready. We're going to need you. And so I think he's embraced that. Ryan and Coach Scherschitz, Mike has done a great job with him, Gunner as well. But I think Chuck's just his playing experience and his savviness. He's very, very good with the ball. He's well liked as a transfer. I was talking about Jones, very well liked around here by his teammates. So he has a great relationship with the kids. I think the receivers feed off him. They trust him. And he's really developing into being a quality backup for us right now.
And how important are games like last week where you have a whole half to get not only him into the game, but Gunner as well to really get game reps?
A lot of those guys too now. I mean, you got those freshmen like O-line and D-line guys, or we had guys looked at one time, basically the guys that was our scout team on defense had a chance to play a couple drives at the very end. And those guys in practice maybe get more reps than anyone, yet they don't play in the game. And all of a sudden you're out there in front of your family, your friends, your peers, and it's on TV, and you're the guy sacrificing your summer and getting up at 5 in the morning for those 6 a.m. workouts, and you're not on scholarship a lot of times. So for all those guys, it's not that you want every game to be that way. Sometimes they go, but to me, when it's the end of the year and a lot of young guys, and with this new redshirt rule where freshmen can play a game or 2 or 3 and still get redshirted, I think it makes their development go that much better because they can buy in, because they get to taste being on the field. When you just practice, never play. So for Chugs to get out there and have some success, same with Gunner, but for so many of those guys to get on the field, except for the injury we had with our running back, that was a great opportunity for a lot of those guys. So happy for them.
Fifth row right, Spencer from Letterman Row.
Kevin, you guys have not had that many opportunities to go with third down game plans just because you guys move the ball so efficiently. Do you find yourself trying to find a balance between knowing that you need a third down game plan every game and also not really using it that much because you're just staying ahead of those chains?
I want to say it was Coach Billick with the Ravens. The first guy came out and started looking at how many times you get a 3rd and 1, and how many times you practice it, or how many times you get whatever. So, the good Lord doesn't give you time back, but man, we've had a lot of hours on some 3rd downs, and at the same time, you better be prepared and ready for it. So tomorrow's a big 3rd down day for us, and we'll have, matter of fact, that's kind of all we do tomorrow is 3rd down score zones. Today's our base plan for the most part. So we put a lot of time on it because to be a good offense, you have to convert. You have to convert 3rd downs, you have to convert in the score zone. And so whether we're getting those opportunities in games, I can tell you that we put an ample amount of time each week. Again, I can't tell you last week all the blitzes we were ready for because Maryland brought a very extensive blitz package in previous games. So we had a bunch of reps. Never came to fruition because maybe they didn't call it when we got to that situation, or we didn't get to that situation a lot. But as a coach, you don't assume. I guess that's that paranoia stuff that we have to deal with. We also have to manage also how to practice to get our guys ready to play. But there's a lot of time on conversions. So we're very good at third down right now. I think we're one of the best in the country. But we put a lot of time. We take that very serious because if you don't convert, you don't get points, whether it be third down or score zone. And that's why we're scoring, is if we are converting when those situations are presenting themselves.
Fourth row right, Joe?
With Rashad going back to defense, what were the conversations with him and the rest of the coaching staff, and what is his ability to play both ways say about his mentality and his versatility?
Yeah, you know, that had been talked about for a year. He's always had the itch to want to go back. You guys remember the one little where he slapped me around in practice out there back last winter? You look like the old guy that I am. But I just felt last week we had a few nick-up injuries. Some guys have been out. And I went to Coach Johnson. I said, hey, we've kind of kidded about this. Do you think you need Rashad this week? And he said, yeah. I said, well, he's doing good enough on offense. I said, you know, just when do you want to do it? How do we do it? How do you practice it? Before I walked in, he just grabbed me and said, what do you think today? And I said, well, today's our base play, base day of what's going on. You tell me when you need him, you can have him. And hopefully, I think he's mature enough as a fifth-year guy that we can minimize stress for him and just put him in good situations. I know the defensive coaches will put him in situations where they think he can handle it. And now me having coached him for 3 years, I think I got a good feel of what he needs and all this. We'll just go back and forth. He's not going to have a full playbook on both ends, but I was happy for him to get a sack. I was trying to get him a couple passes that didn't come his way last week, but we're going to keep bringing. He's had a solid year, and he needs to finish up. He's on track to graduate in December, which is going to be a great deal, and we're going to keep pushing him to the finish line very hard.
Third row right, Rob, dispatch.
Kevin, so you've been so dominant. I think point differential plus 40. 1995 Nebraska, a lot of people think the greatest team ever was plus 38, so you're doing better than that. Do you really know what you have until you get in a crunch town game? I mean, you're allowed to be curious as a coach. Do you ever wonder about that? Like, when is it coming and how will you react and how good are you?
Yeah, I think the only thing I can say is you're never going to know till whatever those situations present themselves. But I know we practice against a really good crowd on both sides of the ball, and we that's one of the foundation pillars of our team is the way we work and practice, and we go good on good. So that being said, when the talent gets equated, it's not like we're just having walkthroughs and going against the down the line guys. So you still got to execute when the lights are on and it's loud and all that kind of stuff. But I just think the way we practice, to me, is more encouraging than the talent we have. I really appreciate the way our kids come to work. And I think when you're having good practices and you're going against great competition, you trust when you get in that game environment that you'll be ready to execute it at a high level. But until we do.
Do you look forward to those times? I mean, you love blowouts, but do you look, as a coach, seeing how your guys do when it's all on the line?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I actually like Tuesdays and Wednesdays better than Saturdays. For what it's we always have. I think I just kind of like getting in the classroom with the guys and going on the field and adding new things and wrinkles and looking at it, attacking a new deal, and putting a plan together and working. Then you go out there Saturday and it's. I mean, I like game day, but I like the work of the week and the process of the week. So I don't necessarily love blowout. I mean, I like to win. And you always take a lot of pride when you're doing whatever it takes to win, especially in those close games when you're taking care of the ball and you got conversions, you're playing good in the kicking game, and it comes together in all phases. So at the end of the day, I mean, the games have went so far the way they've went. Okay, I just know the way we practice, I think, gives our coaches, and with that being said, I think it gives our players a lot of confidence each week that they have a chance to play well.
You've been around some really good teams, great teams. What to you is the it factor that makes them what they are, what they become?
I think the teams that are the closest, it's one thing to have talent, but I mean, some of the teams have sometimes maybe not as much talent as others, but are very close, and there's just a little bond, care, love factor that they truly have for each other. Whether you're doing even some of your off the field activities, and you're having a reflection period, and you notice the number of people that are there with before the game or during the week. You know, you see the kids that are just, you know, you listen to them in the locker room, you see them off the field, you listen to them up in the cafeteria, and you watch who's sitting with who, and you see how it intermingles and how the team kind of blends and mixes. It's kind of neat when you go in there and sit down. You don't see the old linemen sitting together. You see them intertwined with defensive players and skill guys and specialists and whatnot. So I think the best teams are the closest team, and I think this team's pretty tight.
Front row left, Nathan. Cleveland.com.
Just what ways have you seen Justin's intelligence make the biggest impact this season?
Again,
Justin's intelligence is either his football IQ or just his intelligence in general.
he's very talented. He's very, very smart. Matter of fact, that, you know, Coach Meyer would even say previously, you know, you better come prepared for the meetings when you're coaching certain players. He's a guy you need to be prepared for because he's very smart. He's got a lot of physical skills I think people see, but he's a great kid that has really high intelligence. I think he has very good vision, meaning like I think he can take the chalkboard to video to the field. Some guys can't do that. Has a great understanding of again, visually and conceptually what you're trying to do. So he's got a lot of talent, and intelligence is very high on the list of what he's very talented at.
You say you need to come prepared for meetings with players like him. Is it because they're going to have questions for you that maybe another player?
Or they'll tune you out. No, not believe in you. I mean, he's smart enough. He's going to know that you know what you're talking about or not. Because wait a minute, coach. Now if it's this coverage, don't you think? Yes, you should go there. No, here's a blitz issue and why. And so, I mean, one of the best ways to make those guys thirsty when they come to your meeting room is you're prepared and you can bring them information that they know is going to make them a better player. And when you're dealing with someone like Justin that's unbelievably talented, has high goals and aspirations, and is very, very smart, it's a credit to Coach Day and Coach Ursh to come in there and capture him and continue to bring him along as they're doing.
And right behind, Bill Landis, Athletic.
Kevin, it seems like wider zone runs have become more of a base run play for you guys than maybe tight zone, inside zone has been here in the past. I'm just wondering, is there anything about JK's skill set or the skill set of your offensive line that's allowed that play to maybe come to the forefront of your feature a little more?
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like you kind of mix them, you know, because the tempo of the runs and where they hit. You got to be careful that we don't do too much because some of the clean fundamentals and aiming points and tracks, like I say, you know, you can just start blindly running left and right and really mess up the play there because you're just, you know, you're not doing exactly right. You know, we weren't thinking it necessarily fit JK, although it does. It's a play over time that years and years ago, everybody started doing with McNally and the guys at the Bengals between inside and outside. We'd had a lot of success in Oklahoma doing it, had a fair amount of success previously over at Indiana. I think with the line we had and where we thought we were at tackle, I think Coach Day just wanted to look at it a little bit in the spring to see how it went. It just kind of snowballed. And we've ran it before, but maybe not as much. But as we came out of spring, we just saw their line was creating a lot, you know, as they're big, but they're actually very athletic. So as they get moving, they just create a lot of momentum and force. And as they create that force, they just create seams and creases within the defense. And JK and Master at the more he ran it, got a little bit more comfortable with seeing those cuts and when to stick their foot in the ground and you know, make that hard up and in cut or bounce it around or whatever. So it's a play we didn't mean to. We just stumbled into it. We didn't say like last year, let's change, do this. We just said, let's take a look at it. As we did, we really got good at it. It's kind of snowballed, and it's been a very, very good play for us.
The last set of questions in the front, Joey.
Kevin, when when Jonah Jackson went on the transfer portal, you were one of the first coaches to, I think, from Ohio State to call him. When you called him, what do you remember kind of telling him about Ohio State and what impression had Jonah made?
Yeah, he was. I had gotten wind, and when they called us and said he was like in the portal that we were allowed to contact him, I think he was caught off guard by the number of people that were reaching out to him, and of course Michael Jordan had decided. It was about a week or so after Mike had decided to go, because early in January, mid-January, whenever that happened, I just said, hey, we have a tremendous team and a real need. And there's no guarantees here. You're going to have to earn your position, but I don't think we need transfer backups. There's a really good opportunity. Don't know much about you. Why don't you check us out? And there was a couple coaches that within Rutgers that knew me, and I said, hey, you can find out a little bit about us and what we're doing. But from there, Coach Stud got really involved and got a great relationship. When it was time, went out to see him. We got him on a visit. Worked hard to get him, and we're glad we got him.
And just one other question on Rashad Berry. You don't see a lot of two-way guys anymore in college football. It's been since 2012 since Ohio State had a guy playing offense and defense. Why has that become, I guess, so rare in your mind?
I think well, because as coaches, we think we have to work so hard and be here all day, we come up with a lot of stuff they have to learn. So if we keep the game simple, they can probably play two ways. But since we work these enormous amount of hours, we come up with all these schemes that take a lot of time to learn. And so it's hard. I mean, the offenses are complicated, defenses are complicated. Wherever you have learning how to attack the defense as an offensive player, what are your fundamentals, what are your plays, what are they doing, how to get it right. Now flip it around. You're over there. This formation line up here, that formation line up here. This call do this, that call do that. If they go to empty, check this. I mean, it just gets a lot after a while. So you got to be smart. There's a lot of talented players that maybe over time some guys have. Here we've had enough depth. Maybe you didn't need to. Right now it's a unique situation. Rashad came to offense because we had a dire need at tight end. We had some young tight ends that weren't ready. Marcus Ball was the only veteran. We needed him. He has done a tremendous job for us the last 2 years. We've developed that position. Ruckards came on. Jake Hausman's gotten better. Luke Farrell's very, very solid. He's he's very comparable to those guys. Defense has always had a bunch of depth at the end. This year with some minor injuries, they've got a little thin. So the door kind of swung open that way for him. We didn't want him to be a two-way player. And that being said, he's not really a two-way player. He's a situational player playing on both sides of the ball. And there'll be certain situations that I think Coach Johnson will put him in to give him a chance for him to be successful, more importantly for our team to be successful.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay.